Okay, let me go onto my phone and make sure it's actually streaming. Come on in. Welcome to the Curious Conversation for today. If you are joining us, I'm Jackie and this is Sarah. Oh, yep, there we are. There we are. All right, 1 minute until noon, and we will get started on this conversation. But happy Thursday today. Hope everybody in the Confident Beauty Collective is having a great week. And I am really excited today to just introduce you to my new friend. I guess it's new friend, but it feels like I feel like if we were sitting together drinking coffee or tea or whatever in real life, it'd be like, we're just picking up where we left off. But this is Sarah DeOrlando, and I'm just excited to introduce you all to her today. And what an amazing story she has. And we probably 3 months ago, I would say maybe 3 months ago, got connected through Instagram. And we've just been in conversation over the last 3 months. And I knew from very early in our relationship that I wanted to introduce her to everybody that's in the collective. And so you all know that the Confident Beauty Collective, we focus on just self-care for the mind, body, and spirit. And today we're going to have a great conversation with Sarah about really about maybe spiritual self-care and how the Lord has just really, through a season in her life, he just taught her how to really be in relationship with him. And so Sarah, before we actually talk about your book, welcome to this beautiful community that we're building together here. But I would love for you just to share with us really maybe a little bit, if you want to share any of your background, family or anything like that. But I know your book takes off Love Letters from Poland, and this is your first book. This is your first go at being an author, which is so exciting. But tell us what you were doing that took you to Poland, or kind of a background of how you ended up in Poland, which prompted you to write this book.
Okay, wonderful.
I know, that's like a lot.
Wonderful. This is a great question. Hopefully I'll remember all the details and you can prompt me as we go. But first, thank you, Jackie, for inviting me here. And hello to your beautiful community. It's an honor to speak to you and encourage you today. So what brought me to Poland? It was definitely all in God's timing. I am an engineer by trade, and I was out of school for about 2 years and had my heart set on travel. I wanted to get out of the United States and explore the world, meet new people, cultures, serve in communities. I have a really big heart for compassion and connecting with people. So opportunities came up. And then fell through. Opportunities came up for Nepal and fell through, for seismic earthquake retrofits and other things. I'm a structural engineer. And then Poland kind of came to be, and I thought it was funny. Like, I've never wanted to go to Poland. I'm sorry if there's any Polish people watching. But that was my heart. I was just like, oh, that's not glamorous. That's not the Mediterranean. That's not France. It's not, all these other things that have a lot of draw for Europe. And so it's kind of this diamond in the rough. But the more I consider this job opportunity, which was not a humanitarian work, it was actually for a military base in Poland for the U.S. Polish joint military. And God was saying, yes, go to this place. And I was like, okay, sure. So things fell into place within a couple of months. And then I was on that plane and going, and like before I could even really back out of it, I was like, I'm doing this thing. And I was married at the time for about 5 years to my husband, but he stayed back in the United States. And I went to Poland for 8 months to work as an engineer and just serve my country.
Yes. Wow. So you're an engineer. You have a heart for traveling and seeing the world. You were married, and then an opportunity came up for you to do your engineering job in Poland. And so as I look at your book, Love Letters from Poland, the subtitle is An Unexpected Memoir and Freedom Song of a Broken Heart Restored. So as I started to read your book, I realized that it's almost like your journal. Like when you were in Poland, some of the writing here, you actually take some excerpts of just all the things inside of you that were happening in Poland. So I know it's a lot about your faith and how the Lord grew you, but tell me about before you went to Poland. Like, what was you were a believer, you were a Christian.
Yeah.
And so tell me about that. Like, tell us, like, were you a believer as a little kid? Had you grown in your faith? Like, what was like, I know God did an amazing work in Poland, but lead us up to that. What led to that?
Okay. So yes, I grew up in a Christian home, and I said yes to Jesus as a little girl. I was maybe 7 years old in my bunk bed, but I just kind of kept that secret to myself. And I felt a little bit ashamed about it, and I don't know why. I think it was the enemy at the time just trying to prevent me from really stepping into that calling. But I can only see that now in hindsight. So I kind of bumped along, and I felt like I had to do the right things to be good, to get loved. It was a lot of works based. So it just left me struggling in shame. And I'd had some trauma in my past. I came from a broken family. My parents were separated off and on again. And in the midst, there was some sexual abuse that happened to me, and that was done through me. And just a lot of shame about that. And looking back and feeling like nobody wants me, nobody could love me. I just have to pack that part of my life up as it wrapped up around age 11. So when I stepped into my teens, I just turned on the high gear to succeed in school so people could appreciate that part of me. And I thought God just wanted me to do his way, and I didn't realize that it was a good way, or I didn't realize he could heal me from that brokenness. So I ran from the Lord through my teens into my early 20s until depression really caught up with me, and I got to this turning point where I thought, maybe he does want to address the brokenness. Maybe he does want to heal these things and see these parts of me that I've kept locked away for so long. But it started as a really simple, like basic crawl of really experiencing God for the first time and enjoying it. I began reading the Psalms on my commute to my engineering job on the train, and something clicked in me. Something in my heart was like, oh, this resonates with me now that I have some perspective. You know, I was 23 at the time and had a little bit more life under my belt to understand, you know, everybody is broken, and God was meeting me there.
I want to go back to when you said like you were a little kid, and there was a time like you're like, I recognize like I want to be a Christ follower, and then I didn't really, I didn't know what to do with that, and you know, I think that's a lot of times if you have been brought up to believe in the gospel, you know about Jesus, we can accept Christ as when we're little. And then there comes a growth process as you're growing and maturing and growing up. Then you can either in your faith stay as the 7-year-old, or you can, your faith can grow in an understanding of who Christ is and his love for you. And I can relate to your story of really accepting Jesus when I was little, and never like feeling like, oh, I'm not going to be a Christian. I always like felt like I was going to walk in the faith. But there did come a point, and like it sounds like for you in your 20s, where you're like, okay, this makes more sense to me now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can understand, like when I read the Psalms, like I understand what it's saying. And so as you're growing from childhood to adulthood, I think that you get the opportunity also for your faith to grow with you. And I know I maybe felt for my own self a little bit of condemnation and guilt because maybe in the church that I kind of was raised in, like if you weren't progressing at this rate and you weren't doing this thing, and if you weren't telling this many people about the gospel and of all these things, all this checklist of things, if you weren't doing all this, then you're not like where you need to be as a Christ follower. And as I came into adulthood, I realized like that checklist, that's not what the Bible says. That's not, God's love is not in the checklist. And so I'm so thankful that you in your 20s began to like see like, oh, there's more to what I know about Jesus, what I know from him from my past. There's more, and I want more of him. And Sarah, don't you think, I mean, as I'm have read through your book, don't you think wanting more of Jesus is kind of the crux of everything in the Christian life as a woman?
And it's the more I want, the more satisfied I am, the more at peace I am, the better I can do everything. Honestly, the more joy.
Yes.
And noticing that I can stop searching from other places, and it's not perfect, I get distracted, I compare, I struggle with emotions and forget God's truth. But when I do get still and go back to spend time with Jesus, it's like, yes, this is who I am. And he reminds me. And as you're speaking too, Jackie, you're reminding me that so many people in the gospel met Jesus and were first healed and then went and told. And so I needed to have my own healing journey. And we'll dive into that, during my time in Poland. But God was preparing me for that, to receive healing and then want to go and share about who Jesus is, because I knew him personally. It wasn't like a, you've been converted, now you need to go tell people. It's like, he changed my heart. He truly set me free. My freedom song, it's just all of what he's done for my life, and not easily now.
Yes. I was talking to a woman yesterday, and she was telling me she had been in a certain career path for 25 years, and she had found a new way to do this thing she'd been educated on. And so she left what she had known, and now she's doing this new thing, and she's just telling everybody about it because she's so excited, because she believes that this new thing she's doing it has been impactful to all the people that it has touched. And that is kind of like what it's like when the Lord does his new thing in you. Then not out of obligation do you go and tell somebody about it. Not out of the evangelism pamphlet brochure do you go tell somebody about it, but out of the overflow of what God has done in your own life, then you want to tell other people about it. And in your book at the very beginning, I wrote this quote down. You said, somewhere deep inside our souls, we know we're meant for more. Can we scrape up enough courage to believe we are who God says we are and walk boldly in his truth? And I loved that so much because I always have this feeling that I never want to settle if God has something more. God has something more. But at the same time, searching for that something more instead of letting the Lord just guide and direct that is such wasted time. And so the more that you and I, women, anyone, the more that we lean into him and let him do the internal work in us, the more then we can see what the bigger picture is or what the next step is. And Poland was definitely the next step for you on your spiritual growth journey. So tell us what happened when you got to Poland.
Well, there was an adjustment period for sure, Jackie, and it all collided in the first 6 weeks. I was like full of self-doubt, loneliness, discouragement, insecurity that I would get fired, and just taken away. All my support networks were gone. And my husband was back in the States. We were different time zones. I didn't have my friends there. And so I got to this turning point about a week or two in that I said, okay, Jesus, I'm going to spend some quality time with you because you're the only one that's around. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And laid a great foundation for me to receive his blessing, and was really preparing me to have this open heart to receive when I did get connected. So
tell us what that meant when you say like spend some time with him. Like if this is new verbiage, you know, like if you're like, what are they, if someone listening is like, what are they talking about when they're like spend time with God? Like God's here. Like what does that even mean? So tell us when you were in Poland, when you're like, I'm going to spend some quality time with the Lord. What did that look like for you?
So for me, it meant I was going to turn off my phone or get off of social media for a whole day and not let other voices come in or distractions, comparison. I would go for a walk in the woods and I just kind of talk out loud to God and just say like, this is going on, or this is how I'm feeling. And just get really brutally honest. And sometimes I would hear encouragement or just like a sense of peace after I was able to say what was burdening me.
And so when you say here, you mean like here in your mind or in your heart, not like an audible voice, like I'm in the woods with you, Sarah. But also you use the word a sense of peace. And I know in my own spiritual walk, the times that I am very intentional about being still or being present just with me and myself, like right there, right then, trying to like not have all the things coming at me. When I set aside that time, that sense of whatever, of joy or peace or contentment, that is something that I believe comes from the Lord. And is that what you mean when you say, I sensed peace when I was walking in the woods? Or tell us, is that how, like, how did you, what am I trying to say? Like when you were hearing new things from the Lord, was that peace on your spirit and peace on your heart?
Yeah, peace in my spirit for sure. And I think in a practical way, it meant that I wasn't overwhelmed by my negative self-talk or depression, because I've struggled with depression for much of my life. It meant accepting myself and feeling like I had a purpose. I had hope for that day specifically and for the days to come.
Do you have anything more to say about accepting yourself? Like I think in this group and from some of the other conversations that we have had, it is hard sometimes as a woman to accept ourselves. We're not very gracious with ourselves. And why do you think that is? It's on our notes.
oh my gosh. It is still something that I wrestle with and need to go back and remind myself of truth, like Ephesians 2:10 that says we are God's masterpiece and handiwork, created anew in Christ Jesus for good works, that which he prepared for us in advance, or long ago is one of the translations I really like. That he has a plan for us and he is working in us and he's going to do the work. So we don't have to strive. We don't have to try to be anybody else but ourselves, because he created us in this unique way. So that looks like affirming ourselves appreciating and catching those bad thoughts, those critical thoughts we have, whether it's about our abilities, our physical appearance, any of those insecurities, and giving them up to the Lord. And I heard one author say to read Psalm 139 aloud to yourself in the mirror, like, my nose is fearfully and wonderfully made, and claiming that over ourselves.
That's a good.
When I was in Poland, being still was kind of a new thing for me too. And I think there was that fear of being quiet and letting myself be with me. Like, I didn't know if I really liked my own company because I didn't accept myself. I thought I needed to do something to be approved or to get love or have it outside affirmation. I wasn't just content with who I was. Until I knew more of who God was, who God is. Yes. And I think that was a reversal. Like, I was trying to figure out who I was as an engineer and had this path and figuring out how I could get to these stages and love myself when I had achieved this or had the marriage or had children. But instead, God was like, get to know me, know my love, know who you are in me, and then because of that grace, because of that constant love that it just pursues, runs after us, then you will be able to accept yourself because of the work that he is doing through me.
Oh, that's so good. Like, the one thing, like, from that, I was like, if you want to know yourself, know Jesus first. Know the Lord first. Lean into him. Get to know him. Get to know his character. And in that, you'll begin to know and love your own self. Because in him, that's so good. That's so good. And so your book, it really, I'm not going to spoil it for everybody, but it really, you get really personal. Just talking about some of your struggles and also so much of the joys, and really the way you began to come out of the insecurity and depression and loneliness and all that was there. So what did God do, or who did he bring you, or what happened that was a turning point?
He brought me a community that loved and accepted me.
Yes.
For who I was, and always pointed me back to Jesus, and was just so vibrant. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've never been a part of anything like this.
Yes.
And I want more of it. I want more Jesus because I see Jesus in them. I see Jesus doing miracles. I see God working in tangible ways, providing financially for this little church that I got connected with, giving them an old building that was originally from the Germans in World War I and then occupied by the Nazis. And now the church has it, and they're making a beautiful auditorium and inviting people in to come and experience God's love and healing. Like, he was it's so at work in these broken places. Poland has a tainted past, and I felt like I resonated deeply with that in ways I didn't even know or were able to express until I was back in writing and seeing.
And you didn't, I don't think that you really said that, that correlation in your book. Poland had this past and I had this past, and the two of us coming together was a restorative process. I did not make that connection in your writing, but to hear you say that, that's really beautiful. And that is the Lord. Isn't that his perfect direction? He knew that was going to be your place. He knew what was going to happen there. He knew when you were a little kid in your bed, saying, okay, Jesus, I accept you. He knew that Poland was going to be the place. And so, so you went to Poland. It was beautiful. God did a major work there. And of course, there's still even when God does major, beautiful things in our lives, we still sometimes experience the hard things of our lives, like depression or self-doubt. And I just think it is I don't know if I think I can say this. As a woman walking with the Lord, and I've been walking with him for a long time, I used to think that if I still struggled with any of the things that had been the major things before, that something was flawed and messed up in me. Now I realize I am a human being and I have human being emotions.
Yeah.
And God is bigger than those, but I still experience them sometimes. And it doesn't mean I'm broken, and it doesn't mean I'm defeated, and it doesn't mean that the Lord isn't still providing the peace and joy and contentment he gives. It just means that sometimes in this broken, fallen world, I mentally or physically experience some of that broken and fallenness. And I have learned how to give myself grace in that instead of continuing to revert back to what is wrong with me.
Yes.
And I know that when you ended your time in Poland, you came back and someone had spoke over you that you were going to have a message to share.
Yeah.
And so tell us about that. Like, were you already thinking I have a message to share, or did the Lord use someone to put that belief into you?
The Lord had to use somebody to put that belief in me for sure, because of that self-doubt. It was like, I don't have a story. You know, who would want to hear my story? How would this be encouraging? But it started, there were two specific turning points while I was in Poland. Maybe the first month that I was at my new church there, the pastor asked me to share my testimony. And I had never done that publicly, at least like the whole bit, and touch on sexual abuse, because that was something that I was always very sensitive to, not shame any of the people that were involved or anything in my community back in New Hampshire. So in Poland, when I shared and people leaned in and listened and had compassion, and I felt seen and accepted, I realized the Lord was saying, like, this is a powerful story. Like, and I'm doing things in you. And I was excited to share it, which I had never had that freedom to say, hey, look at where I was and look at where I am now. I don't see the whole finished story. I don't see all the restoration, but I know there is healing. I know that there is momentum, and I'm knowing him more and finally feeling that freedom. Yes. So that laid the groundwork. And over the couple of months while I was in Poland, another friend came and spoke over me. You're going to write a book about this. And I was like, okay, sure. I knew that God had met me profoundly, but I wasn't sure how to share, what to share. So I was stuck in the details. Yes. And I'm sure that could resonate with some of us. Like, you might feel a nudge in your heart and you're like, but I don't even know where to start. Who am I to do these doubts, lies, whatever. But this friend was very specific and said, it's going to take you 2 years to write. It'll be about 200 pages. And I'm going to help you. And I was like, okay. So I chewed on that. And when I came back from Poland, I thought I would immediately start writing, but instead I fell into a terrible season of depression and really doubt of, did this really happen? Is God with me now? Why did I leave? Was this maybe a consequence of something I had done? Like you were saying, Jackie, when you fall into those hard seasons, it's easy to try to go back to those normal things. But instead, I chose to say, okay, I don't feel your presence like I had before. I don't always feel that peace, but you're doing something, and I'm going to take the next step, because I can't even see a big picture right now. It's so foggy from the discouragement. But I know you gave me this month, Lord, and I'm going to follow that, and I'm going to follow that. And so that obedience in that process. And so I didn't start writing until I had come out of that season of depression. And it took about 2 years to really work through, but I didn't know that God was cultivating the seeds that he had planted and giving me deeper insight, wisdom, so I would be able to share more fully the story. And it wasn't just the highlights, it was the dark parts too, because I want anyone who reads my story to resonate with the brokenness or the shame, discouragement, despair, and seeing how God can meet us in those places and restore.
And that's one of the things that when I was reading, I was just thinking how much courage you had to share those real and dark places. Because, I mean, I have journals full of things that you published. I mean, and I think as women, we have our places that we share, write down, or keep to ourselves, the things that we're maybe struggling with or battling with on the inside. And for you to be able to put that on paper and put it out to the world, I mean, that took a lot of courage. And I just think that because of that, I think it's going to really spur anybody who reads your book that needs just an ounce of courage. I think that your courage to share your own story is really, it's going to be very impactful. And so, I mean, thank you for having the courage to really share the things that God told you to share, because it would have been easy to be like, I'm not sharing that part, and I'm sure there were parts that you're like, that part I need to keep to myself right now. But there were a lot of things that you just were really open about. And thank you. Because I know there were parts of your story that made me feel like, I'm not alone in some of the ways I feel and respond to what is happening in my life. And so I know that courage that it took to write your book, you have used that courage muscle to do some other things. And are you working in the engineering field, or what's going on in your life now?
Oh, I am not an engineer anymore. As of February, I left my career path and published my book a month later. So that was, in the works. It did take about 2 years to publish. And so as that was launching and ramping up, I was able to devote more time to that and pursue full-time biblical life coaching.
Okay. So tell us what that is. Tell us about that.
Yes.
What's life coaching?
I love to help women discover their God-sized dreams, whatever those nudges are. Like when I was in Poland, I was just like, oh, I think I need to share this, but I didn't know how or what it would look like. And so I give women an opportunity to get clarity on what's going on in their life and what are those dreams and those big dreams, those scary dreams, and saying like, oh my gosh, I've never told anybody this out loud, and give them the permission to share that. And then we get practical and we dial it back and say, okay, what can we do this year? What would it look like for you in this season of life with your, family, with your job, to take small steps to work toward this God-sized dream for you? And we get together and there's support and accountability. And I am just there praying with you, asking great questions and helping you discover what I think you already know, in conjunction with the Holy Spirit's wisdom, to have that bravery, I like to say, to take that next brave step to where God is calling you.
And brave step is a good way to say it. Don't you think when you have a dream on your heart, something about when we're little, we don't care. We tell our big dreams are or whatever. But as you grow as an adult, as you mature, reality of what that dream would look like or whatever, we just kind of squish down our dreams. And they're still there. Like our dreams are still there. The things that God put in us are still there. And I don't know, I'm not a life coach, but it sounds like you help women kind of pull back the things that are squishing down that big dream that's inside of them. And I know that especially with social media, we see everybody else's like huge dream, like the big thing that this person's doing or that person's doing. But our dreams, whether mine, yours, the women in this group, it doesn't have to be something that the whole world thinks is big. But if
No.
God's placed it there
Mm-hmm.
and it's yours, don't you think like he wants you to live that out because he has a plan for that. He has something beautiful for his kingdom, for your dream, because he gave
Yes.
it to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you are equipped to help women
Yes.
move forward in their dreams.
Yes.
Yeah. I know that we talked about this before, and what that process kind of looks like. But tell us if there's anybody watching live or who will be watching the replay,
Mm-hmm.
that your message and even the whole message from this is the journey that I've been on with the Lord. This is what he's been doing in my life. This is what I'm doing now. Now I help people like kind of do what this whole journey has helped me to do, is figure out what my dream is. I know that you have a process and a system for that. And so tell us what that looks like. If somebody is like, I want to know more about what she does or how to know more about my dreams, what's the next step with you, Sarah?
Yes. So I have a free workshop coming up next week, and it's called The 3 Ways to Thrive in the Life That God Has for You. And I'm going to talk about some practical ways that you can work on your mindset. You can identify what values and principles you're living your life by, and then get to work. Apply your hard work, your persistent consistency, and taking those small steps each day. To start saying yes to whatever God has for you. So that's a free workshop next week, and we can provide the link for you to register for that. Okay. Or if you really want to dive in and understand more about my coaching process and how I can start to give you permission and space to uncover those dreams that you've always had. And that typically, Jackie, is the thing. We've always had these things in our heart that God has given us, but they have been squished down, and it is hard to dream again. So if you want to dream again, I would love to give a few of your ladies a spot on my calendar for free, a complimentary session. It's a dream session, and we can talk about your dreams and create a path for you to take your next brave step.
Yes. How generous of you to offer that to us. And I knew, just kind of in closing, and to anybody that would be watching and listening, when Sarah and I first started interacting through Instagram, it was in Messenger and or direct message, and she sent me, if you're not, it's like, this is in Facebook, if you're on Instagram, you may or may not know this, but in Messenger, it's super easy to send voice clips to each other. And so Sarah sent me a voice clip after we introduced ourselves to each other. And I don't even remember what the context of the conversation, but her voice, I mean, you guys have been able to hear her voice on here today. But when I heard her voice, I was like, I want to know this person more. Because something about the calming, soothing way her voice resonated through the phone right then. And then we had a phone call, and I learned more about what you do. And I knew that I wanted to introduce you to the women here. And so to the women in the Confident Beauty Collective, you know that I steward this space very well. I don't take it lightly that you're here, and I don't want to introduce you to anyone that I wouldn't trust fully to do what they say they're going to do. And so if you're thinking about, wanting to know more about Sarah, wanting to know more about what she does, wanting to just get a little deeper look at her story, this book, Love Letters from Poland, is a great place to start. You can find it on Amazon or on your website, I guess. And we'll link her website. We'll also link the free workshop, and I want to do the free workshop. I think I was going to do it one other time, and there was a schedule conflict. But we'll link that there. And then if what you've heard today is like, oh my goodness, when we got to that dream part, they were talking to me, then I want to encourage you, have that dream session with Sarah. It's a gift from her to our community. And I have done those kind of things with other people, and they're not free. And so it is a true gift for Sarah to do that with you and to be trained to do that. And so I just want to encourage you, if the Lord has prompted you today on anything that we've been talking about, reach out to Sarah and have that dream session. And also, if what you've heard today about our personal relationships with Christ, if you're like, I hear them talking, but I don't really understand what that means. Like, I hear people talk about that, but I just don't know. I need to know more about that. Send me a message today. I'll be available in Messenger, and we can schedule a time to talk. And I know Sarah would chat with you about that, but both of us have a heart to see more women find their true identity in Christ. And you have to first know him and know what a relationship with him looks like before you can really understand that identity that he wants to give you in him. And so, Sarah, do you have anything else that you would like to add at the end of that before we finish out today? Yes, please do.
Thank you, Jackie. I just want to encourage all of us that whatever feels broken or dry in this season, that maybe you're feeling like you're in a wilderness, God gave me this picture of Jesus walking in the wilderness, and I saw his face, and he was laughing because everything behind him was turning to flourishing flowers and streams, and he takes delight in restoring our broken places. That's not like, oh, it's Sarah and she's got her depression again, or she is so broken. When is this going to stop? He delights in bringing us into that flourishing, into that thriving. So lean into that today, sister, and know that God's heart is for your good.
Yes. I think that's a perfect way to close out. I'll put all the links that you might be interested in this comments on this feed when we're all finished today. You guys have a great day. Thanks for watching.